Hurricane Erin intensifies as North Carolina's Outer Banks evacuates. Live updates. Hurricane Erin intensified and grew in size on Monday, August 18th, as parts of the eastern United States prepared for possible flooding and life-threatening rip currents. After losing some intensity over the weekend, Erin strengthened back into a Category 4 storm with maximum sustained winds of 140 miles per hour, according to an 11 a.m. Eastern Time advisory from the National Hurricane Center. Forecasts show the storm intensifying more as it gradually turns north on a path between the U.S. and Bermuda. Erin, the first hurricane to form this Atlantic season and the first to become a major storm, was located 110 miles north of the Grand Turk Island and 890 miles south-southeast of Hatteras Island, a barrier island on the Outer Banks which was placed under a mandatory evacuation as officials warned of incoming tropical storm conditions. The storm is expected to steer clear of the U.S., though forecasters warn it could bring dangerous surf and rip current conditions to the eastern seaboard. The biggest threat will be along the Outer Banks, where tropical storm conditions and coastal flooding are possible by midweek, the Hurricane Center said. A tropical storm warning was in place August 18th for the Turks and Caicos Islands as well as parts of the Bahamas, with forecasters warning of possible flash and urban flooding. Additionally, federal forecasters warned those along the coast of North Carolina and Bermuda to monitor the storm as those areas could soon face winds associated with Erin's outer rain bands. Erin will remain a large and dangerous major hurricane through the middle of this week, the National Hurricane Center said. Outer Banks ferries and roads packed with evacuees. Nicholas Himabaugh and his girlfriend drove several hours this weekend from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, to a national campground on the Outer Banks to relax and take in the natural beauty of the beaches. But even days from Hurricane Erin's forecast tropical storm conditions, Himabaugh said he could notice the storm's impact. The couple only went briefly into the ocean and hugged the shore because of rip currents. Heavy waves slammed on the beach, and strong winds could be felt across the islands. The rip currents were very, very strong, and the wind was really sandblasting everything, he told USA Today. The couple left on the afternoon of Sunday, August 17th, hours before mandatory evacuations were issued for two islands, Ocracoke and Hatteras. Still, the ferries off Ocracoke were packed and traffic on roads leading off the islands delayed his journey back home by at least 2 hours. Erin is huge and getting larger. Erin is a huge storm and expected to grow larger. As of the morning of Monday, August 18th, its wind field was some 397 miles in diameter. In addition, Erin is creating seas of 10 feet or more across an area roughly 500 miles in diameter. Erin ranks around the 80th percentile in terms of storm sizes of major hurricanes in the past couple of decades, wrote John Cangelosi in the National Hurricane Center's 5 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time discussion. Erin's wind field is forecast to continue growing over the next few days as a cycle of eyewall replacements continues. Some of the largest hurricanes on record include 2012's enormous Hurricane Sandy, which was among the largest Atlantic hurricanes on record, with a wind field spanning approximately 1,100 miles. Hurricane Floyd in 1999 was also quite large, with a diameter of 580 miles. Doyle Rice. Hurricane Erin triggers evacuations for Outer Banks Islands. 2 counties in North Carolina declared states of emergency and issued mandatory evacuation orders for parts of the Outer Banks, a string of islands in the Atlantic Ocean dotted with quaint villages and fishing towns. Officials for Dare and Hyde counties said Hurricane Erin is likely to cause major flooding and render Highway 12, which runs along the islands, impassable. For the islands of the Ocracoke and Hatteras, mandatory evacuation orders for visitors have been issued. Mandatory orders for residents were set to take effect Tuesday, August 19th. Dangerous waves, 20-plus feet, will likely inundate and destroy protective dune structures along the highway, said a Hyde County news release. Life-threatening swimming and surfing conditions are expected. The statement added that it is extremely likely that Hyde County emergency services won't be available if Highway 12 is washed over by heavy waves. Please take this warning seriously, especially if you have medical issues or are likely to need special care, the county said. Erin briefly exploded into Category 5 hurricane. Erin formed into a hurricane from a tropical storm on Friday, August 15th. The following day, the storm quickly intensified into a Category 5 hurricane with sustained minimum winds of 160 miles per hour before it lost momentum and was downgraded to a Category 3. Over the weekend, the storm lashed Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, causing tens of thousands of power outages, flight cancellations, and closures across both islands. No deaths were reported, and crews have restored power to most of the homes and businesses that experiences outages. Even hundreds of miles offshore, hurricanes can be damaging and deadly. Hurricane Erin is expected to take a path familiar to many as the massive storm moves northward parallel to the United States coast. Dozens of hurricanes have made a similar trek in recent years, testing the nerves of millions who wait to see if the storms are destined to make any sharp left turns or wobbles toward the coast. Even when they don't brush the coast or make landfall, such storms can be deadly and cause millions of dollars of damage. Many lives have been lost during hurricanes that remained well offshore, but created rough surf or deceptive conditions that can disguise hazardous rip currents. Over a 10-year period, about 10 to 15% of all deaths in tropical storms and hurricanes were attributed to rip currents, according to the Hurricane Center. Hurricane Erin caused outages across Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands. Hurricane Erin's rain bands lashed Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands with heavy rain over the weekend, leading to power outages and temporary closures. None of the islands saw major impacts from the storm, but in Puerto Rico, over 150,000 homes and businesses lost power, according to Luma Energy, most of which has been restored. Today, we should be overcoming the effects of the winds and rain, Prof 17, adding that schools and government offices were expected to open the following day. Over the weekend, nearly the entire island of St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands was without electricity, though workers managed to restore power to most of the island within hours, local officials said. The Atlantic hurricane season officially began on June 1st and lasts through the end of November. The Atlantic basin includes the Atlantic Ocean, the Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf of America, formerly known as the Gulf of Mexico. Based on a 30-year climate period from 1991 to 2020, the average Atlantic hurricane season has 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes, the National Hurricane Center said.